Do you know that in ancient Igbo society, a younger man or a younger woman would not be allowed to hold certain spiritual position? For instance, there is a certain age you would get to before you do the rite of Eroawu and to become a Dibia, because you've gotten to that age. And by the virtue of you getting to that age, you can now be able to obey and keep to the moral principles and so that guides the institution of the Dibia. In the past, position of the Ezemo was strictly reserved for the elderly, and we believe that their age and their wisdom makes them the best choice to serve in this capacity as Ezemo. And of course, they've already passed their age of youthful exuberance. The desires that they have when they were young, it is no longer the desire that they have when they are much older. So it makes them the best kind of people to serve in this capacity. Now, while some communities no longer observe this practice of leaving this position of Akajo for ASMO for the elderly, young people are now keen into that position. And it is primarily because they said that we no longer have old people. And some of the old people that we have now been converted into Christians. And we are now finding it difficult to get the elderly to pick up these mantles as Ezemo and Akajofo. So the younger generation are now picking up the pace earlier than they should. But in communities like in Nsukka, they are still maintaining this practice of reserving the position of Edoga Onyishi to the eldest person in their community. These men that serve in this capacity as Ezemo Akajofo, they call them Edoga. They serve as the chief priest of Adoro Ero. These positions that they are holding, it is not the one or this position or this title that they are having or holding for the community. They did not achieve it by being famous, they did not achieve it by being rich, and they did not also achieve it by having the wealthiest and the luxurious. They simply achieved it by being the oldest person in that community as at that time. Now, at the moment an Edoga dies, a group of diviners, not just one person, not just two persons, a group, we bring them together, a lot of them, so that if one person is not getting it right, the other person, so their whole divination system process, it is going to tally the result they are going to get, it is going to tally. And because it tallies, this is how they determine that this person is truly the oldest person in their community, and they are now going to crown that person as the Edoga. Even if this oldest person is not, he does not live in Nigeria, he does not live in their community, wherever this oldest person is, once it is determined during the division process that this person is the oldest man, they are going to inform that person and get that person to come back into the community and to serve the community as a dog. It is also believed that if this position or this mantle is given to a person who is not the oldest person in that community, and while the oldest person is still alive, that person would not survive the ordeal, which means the deity would probably kill the person, or some misfortune or trouble will happen, and that person will cease to exist because this person is not the rightful person. And this whole restriction or limitation that is added to this Edoga position has made it in such a way that people don't want to vie for that position. So they just simply obey tradition and abide by the tradition by allowing the natural system or the natural processes to take place. The rituals that confers the new Edoga as the Edoga happens immediately. It begins immediately the last Edoga dies. So what happens is, apart from the secret rituals that are going to perform by the initiates, the ones that we can see is the one that are performing before the corpse of the old Edoga. Now, what happens here is that after the rituals have been said, after the breaking of the kola nut, the placing of the kola nut within the casket, after everything is done, the staff of authority that was used by the previous Edoga would be brought forth by his first daughter. The first daughter will hand over this staff of authority to the first daughter of the new Edoga, and this daughter is going to carry this staff of authority straight to her father's house without turning her back. People have asked, if she turns her back, what will happen? Well, these are part of the mysteries that guides our cultural, our traditions, and some of the cultural practices. We do not think we have any recorded history where somebody has turned the back, and that therefore we cannot say, okay, this is what happened when you turn your back. But then, I guess for them to place that limitation, probably at some point in history, somebody turned her back and something happened, so they now place that limitation. But because as in the Igbo we have one problem of historical dissonance, we don't know our culture well enough, that story is unfortunately lost. But I believe that for the virtue of being an Onyibo, I believe that somehow this past knowledge is always finds its way home. So at some point in history, I believe that we're going to get somebody that will say, oh, this is what happened, or somebody will now look back in the future and will now say, oh, this is what happens when you look back. So until next time, I guess I'm able to teach you about this culture of Edoga. So what about other community practices, cultural practices, spiritual practices that you have in your community? So if you want to share your story with me, I would leave my email. You could email me and we'll have a conversation about your cultural practice. Like I said.